here is the deal with inflation in 2023 that you need to stay on top of, all right? So there's multiple ways of measuring inflation, and some folks are even taking the existing standards like CPI and PCE and breaking them down even further to basically support whatever argument they may have. Now, in the case of looking at inflation as an investor, what you want to monitor is what the Fed is looking at, yes, but also the market's reaction to inflation data if it happens to be different than what the Fed says they're looking at. So the Fed says that they're looking at what's called PCE over here, okay? So this is a measure of inflation data that is released once a month, and the Fed says that they're watching that to make their decisions about whether to adjust their interest rate hiking plan. The thing is, when you look at the history of the SPY, which I'm about to look at, the S&P 500 ETF, the biggest days of 2022 were on the release dates of the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So it's important to know when these big data releases are happening, but when you're looking at them as a trader, you need to be paying close attention when the CPI day is happening and be ready for what's ahead. So with that, I'm going to bring over my charts. If you're new here, I'm Hima Reddy. I use price, time, and momentum analysis to improve my trading and that of my tribe. And I'm starting here with the S&P 500. That's the SPDR ETF of S&P 500 index. And you can see I have these pink vertical lines that are labeling the release dates of recent CPI reports, okay, all the way through 2022. Now we're coming upon the January 2023 release on January 12th that will reflect the December data. And coming into it, this is the phenomenon I want to bring your attention to. Look at all of the CPI dates, especially since September. On September, we had a wide range bar, and it happened to fuel a trend to the downside. In October, we had a wide range bar, which in fact was an outside bar candle. And this is something I dig into deep in terms of my nano twist to how to trade it in my Gann candlesticks trading system. After that, in November, we had a gap up, and again, a good size range day. And then in December, we had a large red candle, fell and consolidated for weeks before starting to resume higher. So we're coming into this date of January 12th, and what I want you to watch for is the following. So January 12th, the expectation is for the CPI to have improved from December, and it may be enough that investors look at it and say, oh, inflation isn't so bad. We've probably hit the peak of it, and now the Fed can kind of lay low and chill out a little bit on its hiking of rates. If investors interpret it that way, okay, then I think that on the day of the release, we're likely to get some upside surge. But then the way that the data is interpreted and what shakes out over the day, we want to look at the closing price. Because guys, the closing price on any of these CPI days is what told you what the direction of the market was going to be next. Check it out. September, close near the lows, look how far we fell. October, close near the highs, look how far it rose. November continued that rise, closed right near the highs, and December closed near the lows. So my biggest takeaway for you is, whatever happens within CPI day, be prepared for it to be a probably wide range day, not a narrow range. So that's something you option traders should account for so that your strategies are built to accommodate wide ranges, not narrow ones. Number two, like I just said, you want to watch for that close. And number three, most important, is to be always aware of what is the trend going into that data. So right now, the trend is to the upside. It looks like this breakout that happened earlier this week from the sideways range wants to sustain. And that falls right in line with the analysis I did of the SPY, the Qs, and more over my first weekend of 2023, where I did my outlook reports. So the trek higher is likely to continue, but be wary of the volatility that may occur. Again, those three takeaways are: watch out for a wide range day, be careful if you're intraday trading, be conscientious if you're options trading, pay attention to where the day closes for the CPI, and above all, look at the trend. Make sure that whatever actions you're taking, you're in line with the trend, which currently is fueling to the upside. So you can always back off and not be trading at the exact time of the release. That's 8:30 Eastern. But I know many of you come back to your trading or looking to put on swing positions after the data's out, and it's important to keep these in mind. Catch you on the inside.